Gormahgut Cola, and the Maritime Jurisdiction Bill 2021 was published on the 4th of May 21. I want to use the opportunity as well, if you allow me, Minister Lascon Cola, to raise the general issues with the fishermen of today as well, and what they're experiencing. It's also important to highlight that the government has been forward with this bill. And I don't know what's wrong with your government. Are you just so blasé and so careless that you just don't do and no public consultation, none whatsoever, zero, no pre-legislative scrutiny, none, and no regulatory impact analysis accompanying the bill? So is this government by diktat? Is it because of the power that you got for the emergency, it's gone to your head? Or is it just sheer laziness? Or is it disrespect for the House? Or have you not got enough officials in the Parliament? This is mad stuff. And you need to explain, Minister, and or you're seeing the Minister, I know he's in CAP talks at present, but this is no way to treat the House. And no way to treat. I listened to the last Concord speaking earlier, and her understanding of this bill is far greater than mine. And this is no way to treat the House and treat our Oireachtas and treat the people who put us in here. So we might as well close down this House of the Oireachtas and let the NGOs and some others run the show altogether, because they seem to be happening anyway. I can't believe it. No pre-legislative scrutiny, none. And no public consultation, none, the public don't matter. And no, more importantly, no regulatory impact analysis accompanying the bill. The Maritime Jurisdiction Bill 2021 was initiated in May 2021, and its purpose is to revise and consolidate relevant maritime jurisdiction law to provide for the state's maritime zones in accordance with the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, adopted in 1982. UNCLOS. The bill provides for repeals to part of the legislation dealing with definitions of maritime territories. It specifically speaks of Section 2 and 3. Articles of the UNCLOS text and Part 2 and 5 of the bill and 6 are reproduced in Schedule 1 of the bill. The policy background and the legislative context: the Maritime Jurisdiction Act 1959 set out definitions of the various territorial limits and boundaries, including for sea fisheries. Since then, several amendments regarding the state's maritime jurisdiction were made in the Continental Shelf Act 1968 and the Sea Fisheries Maritime Jurisdiction 2006. They all preceded my time, certainly, in this Oireachtas, so I don't know if there was any pre-legislative scrutiny at that time, or indeed impact analysis. I can't comment on that, but I can comment and have to take responsibility for my role in this Oireachtas and legislation that we pass, and I am simply appalled. I'm on the Business Committee, as you know, that's Concord, and every week, nearly, we get requests to waive pre-legislative scrutiny, almost weekly, on one piece of legislation or another. That's a dangerous pattern, because there's no role for the committee to examine the bill in detail and questions and amend and do proper research and understanding of the bill. So, as I said, the purpose of the bill is the bill is to update and set out in one standalone enacting the law relating to the state's maritime jurisdiction, including by giving further effect to relevant provisions of the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, and to repeal Sections 2 and 3 of the Continental Shelf 1968, Sea Fisheries and Maritime Jurisdiction Act 2006. So, as I said, the bill contains 33 sections across 6 parts. So it's obviously quite a hefty piece of legislation and quite extensive, and covers a vast area, and we need to have some scrutiny and some understanding of the impact that it may cause on people. And I want to also state, relating to Rockall, my notes fell, I'm sorry. Rockall, we have never really claimed Rockall. While we have given some reasons for not doing so, I think it's important that we should. As I said, Rockall is a small, uninhabitable granite rock inset located approximately 160 nautical miles west of Scotland's Western Islands of St Kilda and 230 nautical miles to the northwest of Donegal. It measures just 30 metres wide and 21 metres above the sea. The bill has no direct implications regarding Ireland's claim to Rockall. However, Rockall is discussed, and given that this has been an engagement in recent years, Ireland certainly has to, I think, accept their rights as a small sovereign nation, and indeed try and embrace that as well. As I said, we haven't really claimed sovereignty over Rockall, and these positions are in accordance with the UNCLOS as well. As an uninhabitable Rockall has no significance in establishing claims to either continental shelf or exclusive economic zones. But in reply to UPQ on the progress in having the international community, including the EU and the UN, recognise Ireland's sovereignty over Rockall in Dáil Éireann of the 26th of November and June 2020, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Simon Coveney, replied, "Rockall is a small, uninhabitable rock located approximately 160 nautical miles west." I've put that into the record already, and to the northwest of Donegal. The UK claimed sovereignty over Rockall in 1955 and purported to annex it under its 1972 Island of Rockall Act. While Ireland has never recognised British sovereignty, and nor should we, over Rockall, neither have we ever sought to claim sovereignty ourselves. So there's a kind of a dichotomy there and a kind of a lacuna as to why we haven't. We must claim sovereignty, I believe, to it. The consistent position of successive Irish governments has been that Rockall and similar rocks and skerries should have no significance for establishing legal claims, so continental shelf or an exclusive economic zone. So, I mean, I don't know why. I can't understand that. We should, if we own it and it is ours, we should be claiming sovereignty to it, and we should be resisting other nations trying to claim sovereignty to have enough. And goodness knows we had enough of a job in getting them out of this country for hundreds of years. Can I just say, in relation to the sea itself and the whole development of wave energy, and the whole use of the sea, and the role it plays in climate change. And we have a climate change bill tomorrow evening coming in here, climate action bill, which is rushed, completely rushed. So I don't know why we haven't a proper public consultation, that proper time to debate it, and proper engagement with the communities and our offshore communities as well. Because I listened recently here to, I think, yourself, Deputy Connolly, and indeed Deputy Richard Barrett, about some developers now moving on sea and having scant regard for the territory, or having scant regard for the amenities of the sea, or indeed the fishing stocks, or any other life that's in the sea, and just kind of bulldozing ahead. It's out there, and we can do what we like, and people can't access it and see what's going on. So that's not the way to develop our energy and to develop sustainable solutions. I want to say also about the plastics, last Crown Cola, and the amount of plastics that are on the sea, and you see washed up after every tide, really. And I salute the volunteers in many strands and beaches who do enormous work in recovering and trying to save, the bird life and the fish life from being choked with these plastics. And the masks now are a huge issue because they've been dumped on the street and they all end up in the sea. Our rivers and then into the sea, and they must be protected. But the minute to think that we won't protect our valuable resource of the sea, we listened to United Nations, and I heard what Deputy Connie Courtin, former President or Vice President Al Gore, and others. So we have to take heed, and we have to look after what's in the sea. As regards the fishermen of today, and the incident in Cork that Deputy Collins raised here, where a boat was surrounded by a foreign trawler in our waters, and no one from the Navy responded for several hours. Our Navy has been run down to nothing. I'm not blaming the Navy personnel. I'm not blaming them because I don't know the circumstances, but to take that many hours to respond to that kind of a serious incident is quite shocking. The fishermen must have some belief and safety, knowing that they're out there doing their legal day's work and a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, which they're not getting anymore. They must be protected. They must know that the Navy can be called on. Goodness, if one of them misbehaved.
Just sorry to interrupt you, but just are you sharing?
I am. Is he Deputy
Michael Collins is here.
No, Deputy Collins has spoken already on it.
Okay, well, no.
Is Deputy Healy here?
No.
Thank you for that. He may arrive.
Right.
Thank you. I was just getting into top gear with the Navy, and I don't know what the name of the ship, but we have very few of them now, and we have less personnel. To think that an Irish vessel, and I had no direct experience, but I have tons of experience from my colleague, one of the hardest working TDs ever to come out of Cork Southwest, and what he has done for the fishing. And I remember the day of the protest in Cork, leaving here to go down to them and come back up here to take up his duties, to speak on their behalf again, and to be belittled by, or try an attempt by the Taoiseach to belittle them. And the Taoiseach hasn't corrected the record of this House either. And we've written to the Count Cola, and we are waiting for him to correct the record of the House that Deputy Collins, was seeking personal favours from the Taoiseach. Never asked for such, or never look for such. So the Taoiseach needs to, in the heat of battle or whatever here, or crisis fire, he shouldn't be saying things that are totally without foundation and totally disingenuous to a hard-working TD, which the people of Cork South West have recognised and put him back here. But the Navy would be quick, and they have, I've seen in cases where they impound or board our own vessels in Ireland. And to think that the situation came in recently, if there was any sign of a misdemeanour, they would board them and they would impound them and bring them back to port and face consequences. The thing now we have a situation, a ridiculous situation, it doesn't apply any place else in the fishing industry, in any kind of legislation. If I get penalty points in my licence, and I did get 2 once ever, and just two ever, and thank God after a certain time they diminish. But you can be proved innocent in court, and you have penalty points, and they'll be still on your licence or on your record. This is a bizarre situation. Since 1973, when our accession to the EU, we've lost out. The fishing of Ireland has been sold out and lost out and left down. And the most recent talks, we've been completely abandoned. And we have, unfortunately, information that Minister McConnell, I have nothing personal against him, that didn't even open his mouth at some of the meetings. So was there some other kind of a side deal done that will give you all the fishing you want, take our waters, plunder it, if we get something else? Because something else was very little. We even see in the fund now for the recovery fund, we're only getting less than $1 billion out of the whole fund. 900 is short of $1 billion. And sadly, half of it, your government have ring-fenced to go into green initiatives. Now, I have nothing at all against green initiatives. I'm very much for them. But we must have balance here. And I support An Taisc and the work they do in schools and the tidy towns and the tidy schools and everything else, and the work they do in the education area, especially with the green schools and all those issues. But we must be proportionate in our dealings with the rest of the economy as well. We can't just be going off on this fanciful journey of a green legislation, and no impact analysis either. But getting back to the fishing, Last Concola, and this legislation, I think it should be definitely have been, and I've made my point about the pre-led scrutiny, but it should definitely be have public consultation. And I noticed someone mentioned town hall meetings here. We couldn't have them, but a lot of things have been slipped through without any proper consultation. And we need to ensure that our waters are protected. We know that we have a huge issue with drugs being imported across the sea, and no proper protection is there either into our country. But on this area, and the issue of plastics, more focal score, Last Concola, the whole, we have a number of operators in Ireland collecting farm plastic, doing their best to keep the environment safe, and we don't want any plastic ending up in the sea. But neither do we need a cabal set up here to take over the collection of plastic, which they have, and diminish and destroy single operators and just put them out of business, who did great work. They were pioneers, actually. I have one in my own area, and I was one in Deputy Collins' town of Bandon as well, who pioneered the collection of plastic. And my gentleman is a Corlaur at Cundy Port Lauriga, Corlaur at Declan Ducey, a hard-working family businessman who's now huge stocks of plastic on his land, and he's been prosecuted even for having them there, but he can't export them. And when he got some markets, this other cabal, as I call them, AFPPA, decided to undermine and go cheaper and close his contracts. And this is not good enough. Why in this country can't we just have ordinary people doing ordinary things be supported? Why do we have the greed has to come into it? And people, and some farmer members of a national farming organisation set up this group, saw the opportunity. And they complain all their life about the cartels in the beef industry. And now there's a cartel in the plastic recycling industry. And the likes of Declan and Ducey and many more. One-man band, one-man operations, and employing a couple of people, but above all, giving a very valuable service to the farmers of South Tipperary, North Tipperary, West Waterford, South Kilkenny, East Cork, in that area, have to be just forced out of business and cast aside and being diminished. This is not good enough. And these people came before the Agricultural Committee, and Deputy Collins was there. I questioned him as many others were, and they weren't truthful, or they weren't giving us the full story. And he got out the gap, as a man says, laughing. And these people are still out there, willing, ready, and able to collect the plastic and for recycling, which we need, and above all, not to have it in the sea. And then they were stopped. This cabal-type outfit got together, and as I said, sucked them up. Big isn't always wonderful and powerful. The small operators and the one-man operation, whether they be show bands or whether they be agricultural contractors or lorry drivers or whatever, that we're all fighting for supports in COVID, doing a great job. And you'd understand this, Deputy, the Fair and Plastic, because you're in that business, you're in agriculture yourself. And it's not good enough that what the farmer members of that organisation, and now set up in this group, are doing to the small collectors. Because above all, we don't want the plastic in our ditches, in our dikes, in our drains, in our rivers, or in our seas. So I won't say too much more on this bill, but I'm extremely disappointed, Minister Hayden. I know your interest in many issues, and I know you can't be happy either with a bill without any consultation, pre-legislative scrutiny, public consultation, and above all, an impact analysis. Every piece of legislation. And we debated one here some months ago, last Concordia, where we renewed legislation to do with criminal law. And it was introduced, and I think an 18-year lag or 20-year lag had gone before there was any impact analysis. Every piece of legislation should have a date after a bidding-in period, and then a date for an impact analysis as to how it was doing the functions. Was it doing the functions it set out to do? Was it fit for purpose? Above all, was there any glaring anomalies and holes in it that could be, legally challenged or whatever, maybe had been legally challenged? And above all, that it sits well with the public. And it serves the public who we are elected as Tuckty Dáil to represent in this House. And that's very important. And I don't think that the fishermen of Ireland are definitely being served well by the public represented in this House. A couple of them, certainly. And the Taoiseach name dropping at other business or whatever, but other TDs. Let the other TDs do their own work. Don't try and take from the work for Deputy Michael Collins, who is an outstanding representative of the fishermen. And the fishermen are coming to protest here next Wednesday, I understand. I look forward to meeting him. So I conclude with that, last John Cole, Mila Wiggins did.